at home like, why are you talking about sharks? They're evil, mindless monsters. Well, that's actually what the media wants you to believe. Now, sharks have been around on the planet for over 400 million years, and I mean, they've been around since long before the dinosaurs, and they've evolved into the perfect marine predators. And one of the reasons for that is they have incredible senses. I mean, they have an amazing sense of sight and hearing, but also there's their sense of smell. In fact, it's actually said a shark can smell a teaspoon of blood in an Olympic swimming pool sized area of water. But also they have an organ that runs down the length of their bodies called the lateral line, which is full of hair cells that can pick up the tiny vibrations in the water and even the wake of a fish. But most incredible sense of theirs is, and that is found on very few animals, is electroreception, which means they can actually detect the electrical signals of the world's magnetic grid, and even incredibly given off by their prey, and it's all in their snout. And probably the shark that has the best electroreception is the great hammerhead shark. And of course, its head is a little bit like a metal detector, and because especially like at dusk time when a great hammerhead shark is out hunting, because the fish it hunts for hide at night, and even if there's lying very, very still, even a slight twitch or even the beating of their heart gives off a weak pulse of electricity that the shark can detect, and then so basically, if you're a fish, you can run but you can't hide from a hammerhead shark. And unfortunately, sharks are among the most misunderstood creatures on the planet. In fact, people have always perceived sharks as mindless, man-eating monsters. I mean, when the movie Jaws came out 51 years ago, it cemented the image of the mindless, man-eating monster in the public image. But also, if someone is attacked by a shark, then it makes the headlines of the news. But only about 8 to 12 people every year are killed by sharks, and in that time you're more likely to be killed by being crushed to death by a falling vending machine, or killed by a bolt of lightning while playing golf wearing a gorilla suit. And sharks are not the mindless, man-eating monsters the media makes them out to be, because they're much more intelligent than people think they are. And also, a lot of them don't eat mammals, or I mean like the whale shark, this one right here. And that is the largest shark and the largest fish in the sea, and it can grow to be 15 to 20 metres in length, and it's a filter feeder. So, like many whales, it's a filter feeder, so it feeds on things like krill, plankton, and shoals of fish, so it has no interest in humans. And then, of course, there is this one, the blue shark, which is actually the most widespread shark of all, and it's actually really more like a great big puppy, because it's very, very inquisitive, and it has probably the largest pectoral fins of any shark, and it can go for months without eating. Of course, the shark that probably has one of the most unfair and unpleasant reputations is this one, the oceanic white-tip, which is actually a cousin of the great white shark, and the oceanic white-tip has probably the worst reputation of all sharks, because they are always said to be the first on the scene of a plane crash at sea or a sinking ship. And that's mainly down to the fact that this is a shark of the open ocean, where food is scarce and they have to suss out anything they find to see if it's good to eat. And Unfortunately, that does mean they can occasionally be man-eaters. And of course, this one is probably my favourite shark of all, is the tiger shark. Now, tiger sharks are the second largest predatory fish, and they are probably the most generalist feeders of all sharks. I mean, they don't just eat fish, they will also eat mammals like dugongs and dolphins, seabirds, other sharks, bits of carrion floating around in the water, and even incredibly, they can feed on sea turtles. And you're all probably wondering how it gets through the turtle's shell. Well, it's all down to its teeth, because a tiger shark's teeth are shaped a lot like a can opener, and they can actually scissor right through the tough shell of a turtle. And tiger sharks are very important to keep sea turtle populations in balance, because without tiger sharks, sea turtles would overgraze on seagrass, which is very, very important for not just the animals like seahorses and small fish, but also they hold in a lot of carbon dioxide to prevent climate change. Now, the shark with probably the most unfair reputation is this one, the great white shark. Now, the great white shark is the largest predatory fish alive today. I mean, when I say the largest, I mean it can grow to be 6 meters long, weigh as much as a ton, and has 300 meat slicing teeth that are a lot like kitchen knives. And of course, great whites can feed on all sorts of things. They can feed on fish as big as tuna, through to seabirds, turtles, dolphins, dugongs, whales, but their favourite prey of all are seals and sea lions. And of course, unfortunately, great whites are perceived as mindless man-eating monsters when almost all attacks on people are either cases of mistaken identity or when the sharks mistake surfers for seals. And only about 10 to 12 people are killed each year by sharks, but sharks all over the world are now in trouble because of us, and as many as 10,000 sharks each year are killed. And of course, sharks are top predators of the sea, and they have this aura of invincibility, but unfortunately that is not the case, and all over the world sharks are in terrible trouble. I mean, we are destroying their habitat, we are overfishing, like taking vast amounts of their prey out of the sea, and quite often they get caught up in nets as well. But the worst is this. It's called shark fin soup. It's an Asian delicacy that is particularly popular at weddings or seen as a status symbol, and it's in heavy demand in China, Vietnam, Taiwan, India and North Korea. And as many as 10,000 sharks are pulled from the sea each year just so their fins can be hacked off, and then the rest of their body is just dumped back in the sea. And the fins have no flavour at all. They're all purely for texture. But if this carries on, then sharks are going to go extinct in the wild, and that will be bad news, because these are top predators, and if we destroy the sharks in the next 50 years, then the whole ecosystems of the planet will just collapse. Well, the ecosystems of the seas will completely fall out of balance because sharks help keep the balance. Now I'm going to be moving on to Asia, and the first animal I'm going to show you from Asia is the largest of the big cats and one of my favourite animals. It is the tiger. Tigers are the largest of the cat family, and when I say largest, a fully grown male can be over 3 meters long, weigh 4 times my body weight, have canine teeth as long as my middle finger, and bite with a strength of over 1,000 pounds, 400 pounds stronger than the African lion. And tigers are found across Asia, and they are incredible predators. And of course, they're ambush predators, so it's meaning that they have to get very close to their prey before they attack. And they can take anything from termites right up to water buffalo or even an elephant calf. But tigers now are in trouble all over Asia. In fact, and people can spend many months looking for tigers, and it's never easy. And main reasons for that are they've just been hunted so inaccessibly by human beings, and one of the main reasons for that is just down to what makes them such a wonderful animal. I mean, they're hunted for their coat because it's so beautiful, but also because human beings want to take on their powers, and so tigers are also hunted for their bones and body parts to be used in traditional Chinese medicines, which have absolutely no scientific proof that they work. But also, their bones and body parts are quite often made into something called tiger wine. Also, you can take on their powers. And because of that, and deforestation, loss of their habitat, and human-wildlife conflict, tigers now are in terrible trouble all over the world. There could be fewer than 3,200 left in the wild. And of course, this right here, the white tiger, is actually not its own separate species. It's actually a rare variant of the Bengal or Siberian tiger, where quite often it's born out of a tiger being born from the by having lacking the pigment that gives it colour, and so it's born as black and white. And of course, white tigers haven't been seen in the wild since like the 1950s, but they are in captivity. Although unfortunately, a lot of them are results of inbreeding, which leads to a lot of health problems for them. And while tigers in the wild that are born without the pigments that give them the orange colour, they are rare, and of course they haven't been recorded in the wild for decades, but they could still be out there. But of course, there is hope for tigers in Asia. In fact, in the early 2000s, a BBC wildlife team led by the late Dr. Alan Rabinowitz found a tiger corridor population across the Himalayas and into Southeast Asia. They led a expedition to the Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan, where they actually discovered tigers living in the Himalayan mountains, which was absolutely incredible. And they built up that corridor population, linking the populations together, and it has helped increase their numbers in that part of the world. Of course, there are ways to protect tigers, like working with local communities to prevent wildlife conflict, but also with working with people like WWF who protect these tigers with their lives, but also tracking them down with tourism, like using tourism to get people to see tigers in the wild, tracking them down with cameras rather than guns. Of course, the next animal I'm going to show you is another of our closest relatives, and it is known as the old man of the forest, the orangutan. Now, orangutans are related to human beings, as I've mentioned, because they're in the primate family, but unlike chimpanzees who eat meat as well, orangutans are herbivores, which means they eat plants and fruit. And of because they are the largest tree-dwelling animal on the planet. They live in the